this is Mr. Flamingo, and this is part 2 of the Social Science Section 1 review video. So here we're going to talk about pre-colonial India and the regional powers and the Mughal rule before, again, India became colonized. Okay. So it all starts, and some of this you'll see as review from, from the art section, from the music section. You'll see a lot of repetition in a lot of these sections. So hopefully some of this will be familiar to you or review, and you'll see this many, many times, so hopefully it'll be easier for you to remember. So the very, very first, I guess you could say, rule or control over what they call India, it all starts in this place called Vijayanagara. Vijayanagara. This translates to the city of victory. Okay, and it was an empire in the Deccan. Okay, the leadership were Sangama kings, and they ruled from 1346 to 1565. The height of their power was the reign of Devaraya II. And then it fell, or like this empire died in the Battle of Talikota. Okay, the final years of the Vijayanagara Empire overlapped with the Mughal Empire in the north. So it's important to keep in mind that in the pre-colonial era there were kind of two empires competing at the same time, one in the north and one kind of in the middle. Okay, so these were first run by overlords. And these kings of the south, they ruled independently, they had modern military, administration, and trade. So you could see here that this empire, they had the use of cavalry, they had astute campaigns, they employed warriors who collected land revenue for themselves and provided soldiers to the center, so like these rogue warriors. And they also traded, so they had local overseas trade networks, and they imported war horses. One example of the trade is they imported horses from the Portuguese. Now, while this was going on in the south, in the north was, which we talked about many times in art, the Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire. The origin, or how this all started, this empire first started in the north, where the Central Asian Mongol raiders expanded into India and through mounted warfare, so on horse. Okay, and these Mughal rulers were descendants of Genghis Khan and Tamerlane. The modern day English, just so you know, the word Mughal, M-O-G-U-L, comes from this word Mughal. Okay, it expanded between 1526 to 1857. They were very military. They were dominant. Their military was dominant. They had political alliances, administrative structures, like we're talking about governments, to take over this large area called India. Okay, the women's role, the elite women actually got to participate in government through marriage alliances, and they also worked as advisors in the royal courts, which we talked about in the art section before. So for example, or something that we talked about in art, remember the Taj Mahal? This was constructed by one of the leaders of the Mughal Empire, Shah Jahan, for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. So let's say, and this whole section is called Meet the Mughals, and you have, or you will do a session in your stations learning today about creating a poster or graphic organizer about all these leaders in the Mughal Empire. The very, very first one was Babur. Remember, don't forget, Babur is the first one. Okay, he descended from Genghis Khan and Tamerlane. He tried to take over a city called Samarkand. Didn't work out. Instead, he captured, or eventually with more military might, captured Kabul in 1504. He used artillery and cavalry to defeat the Sultan of Delhi in the Battle of Panipat and, took over. So that is Babur, the very, very first Mughal ruler. After Babur was Humayun, which was the son of Babur. So Babur, Humayun. Humayun also was very good, was a leader, 1530 to 1556. And eventually, and he did a lot of great things. So this includes, actually, let me take that back. Humayun was exiled to Iran and Kabul by who would eventually be the ruler after Humayun, Sher Shah Suri, which we talked about. Now, he's the person that was really great, and he's the one that we have that picture in art that we studied, Sher Shah Suri. He was the one that standardized currency. He did these infrastructures like forts and highways, and also did these military innovations, kind of doing salaries for soldiers and then branding these horses. So this little picture here says, I really should get a lot of credit for these Mughals innovations because Sher Shah Suri was the one that did a lot for the Mughal Empire. Eventually, Humayun came back and reclaimed Delhi in 1555. 10 years after Sher Shah Suri died. Okay, how Humayun died, which is what the funny part of this cartoon is that he fell down stairs in a library and passed away. So maybe something you should know, or a funny quirk about Humayun is he died by falling downstairs. After Humayun was his son Akbar. Akbar was remembered fondly for uniting much of the subcontinent, so uniting a lot of this area through war and marriage alliances. Okay, he expanded the Mughal control over western India and eastern India, so Gujarat, and on the east Patna and Bengal. He refined the Mansa Badari system of salaried vassals in the 1570s. So he was very big on building upon what Sher Shah Suri's innovations were. Okay, he was big on religious tolerance and incorporation of elites from diverse backgrounds. So what he was very popular for, what his reign was known for, was being very tolerant to this diverse nation. That's what united India together. So that is Akbar. So Babar, Humayun, who was taken over by Sher Shah Suri. Humayun came back, and then his son Akbar. Okay. After that was Shah Jahan. Okay, Shah Jahan. So first of all, this was what they call, or they were very big, which you read about in art, is that they were very big, or India in the Mughal Empire weren't very big on having the firstborn son to be the next ruler. So Shah Jahan, who you see here, first of all, Jahangir, Shah Jahangir was next after Akbar, and he took the throne, and even though he wasn't the firstborn. So he was very savvy, he had more connections with the political allies, so Jahangir was next after Akbar. After that was Shah Jahan, and Shah Jahan was Jahangir's third son, so not even the firstborn. He defeated Rajput Sisodivas from Chittor, Rajasthan. He maintained Akbar's administrative systems, but his religion policies were more conservative and not as diverse or tolerant as Akbar was. And again, he was the famous one, Shah Jahan, who constructed the Taj Mahal for a girl that he met in the marketplace, which we studied in the art section. And the last one that we're talking about is Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb is the son of Shah Jahan, whom actually he imprisoned his dad in Agra Fort in 1657 and claimed the throne himself. He was very conservative, and so he intensified the Mughal court. So this little cartoon, Aurangzeb, no music in court, no treating the king like a deity, you have to pay this tax, like super conservative. He fought the Marathas in the west and expanded the Mughal Empire in the Deccan. He treated defeated enemies poorly. So after he defeated these people, he treated them like crap. He incorporated them as what they call mansabdars. And what they did was kind of like slavery, kind of trying to treat them really bad. And this kind of weakened the empire's cohesion, because after he took over these cities, he treated them really bad, so they didn't really want to be a part of this Indian empire. So here's what they call the Maratha Challenge. So here, just to make it really quick, here's the more timeline, the Maratha chieftain and all that stuff. You could read that later, but I'm not going to go over that in detail. In the last slide today, we're going to talk about the decline of the Mughal Empire. Why did it start to decline? The weaknesses, the Mughal courtiers, we're talking about like advanced advisors. They refused to move from Delhi to Aurangabad. So if you're a king or a queen, you have these courtiers that tell you what to do, your advisors, your cabinet, and they refused to move. So that was the start of a battle between advisors and the leadership of the Mughal Empire. After Aurangzeb died, there was a 12-year gap until they found a new leader, Muhammad Shah. So imagine if the United States went 12 years without finding a new president. That's what started to decline the empire as well. And because it took so long, the control over the court in different regions like really weakened, and they kind of separated themselves. So the successor states, even though the Mughal Empire declined, the whole country didn't go bad. There was no decline in economics or culture once the Mughal Empire died. In Bengal, Awadh, and the Deccan, regional successors, they kind of broke off from Mughal rule and just started their own cities. They still had a lot of elements of Mughal rule and elements of Indian culture, but they just broke away from the empire. So what they call successor states. There was still a big push in these small cities for the military. So they had economic policies that ensured a strong military. and they employed many independent states to succeed the Mughal. So that's how the Mughal Empire slowly but surely disappeared. So that is it for our social science section 1. Hope you enjoyed these 2 videos, and I'll see y'all later.